Hello, folks. This is a Kirblog about the Mario Brothers movie. There will be some spoilers ahead, otherwise listen to me. It is 2:45 in the morning on April 5th. I have just returned from seeing a semi-impromptu midnight showing of the Super Mario Brothers movie. I was originally intending to see it this way. I changed my plans to see it later tonight on the night of the 5th itself. Technically, I saw it on the night of the 4th, even though it was going, you know what I mean. But I'm seeing it twice. And you know what? That's fine because it was a very good movie. I only wish it was longer, really. That's my biggest quote unquote criticism. All the other stuff is, kind of nitpicky. But overall, had a fantastic time with it, and it did not let me down. I had hopes, and I'm sure I probably said this on record in other videos and probably other Kirblogs in the past. I had the most amount of hope between Detective Pikachu, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the first one, and when I first heard rumors about the Mario movie many years ago. I don't even remember how long ago now. I had the most hope about this one, knowing that it was going to be an animated film. And honestly, it didn't disappoint at all. I had a great time. And so I'm going to get into the spoiler territory now. Actually, before that, I will say, to blame myself a little bit, I did the stupid thing that seems to be a little bit of a trend with animated movies, in particular, maybe some live action ones as well, where I went ahead and I watched a little too much of the stuff that they put out there. I think that was a mistake on my own part. I've done that before with other movies where they put out quite, not everything. There's certainly still some surprises and things that were a lot of fun that, I didn't know completely about going in. But so funnily enough, I guess it's probably fine to talk about this now. I remember hearing from someone, I can't even remember who this was, but somebody within the animation industry who had heard various things many, many years ago, that the original idea for the plot was that Mario gets kidnapped and all the others have to go and save him. That might have been in a very, very, very early conceptual stage. What we got ultimately was a Mario's, origin story that was not quite an adaptation of the, Super Mario Brothers, or any really one game. To my surprise, it was kind of a combination of many things, elements of original Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers, the arcade game, Donkey Kong, and Mario Karts, new Super Mario Brothers, little bits and pieces of all that, Mario 3, with the usage of some of the power-ups and everything. And I think that what they went with in terms of the combination of all these things together was ultimately a good idea. They didn't blow, too many loads, for lack of a better phrase, in terms of, how many characters they decided to utilize. And I think it could have taken a little more time. I'm so used to, it's weird, this has changed a lot with me as well in terms of my perception of this. I was so used to most animated films being this long, about an hour and a half, and usually no longer than that. The last few animated feature films that I've watched, Turning Red comes to mind, which I didn't see in theaters. I really wish I did. I watched it on Disney Plus, but ended up being like hour 45, closer to 2 hours, I think. And that was kind of a delightful surprise because I wish that animated movies would go for that long, but usually they're about this long. So it's pretty breakneck, and not that it's so fast moving that it's disorienting or anything, but I just kind of wish that it just would have been kind of cool to see them take their time a little bit more with certain things and maybe develop certain relationships a little bit more. But yeah, what we got was still very, very well executed. Kind of moving through everything kind of scene by scene. So the opening is, of course, the first trailer that we got to see with Bowser invading the ice kingdom, the Penguin Kingdom. And to see the full expanded or I guess uncut version of that sequence was very cool. Right away I'm like, wow, for having really not seen, other than I think about a year ago, I finally saw the first Despicable Me movie for the first time in my life, which I realized I'd never seen any of the other ones before. I all I really knew in terms of I guess the quality of Illumination's animated films is that visually they are spectacular, and I will say on a general note as well. Absolutely, this was this was it was a sight to behold, and the whole crew did a spectacular job on the visuals. It was breathtaking, and to see these characters realized in a level of CG animation quality that even the games, which the games look beautiful now too, stuff like Odyssey and 3D World and everything. But the level that they went to with this it was mind blowing, and really did a great service to everything. So that was great to see. The first thing that was kind of really was after I was so overjoyed to find out, and I knew about this from a lot of the previews, that so much of the score by Brian Tyler, who is a great film musician. I've heard a lot of his work in other movies. I first learned of him from the live-action Dragon Ball movie, weirdly enough, and then Iron Man and lots of other stuff. But the fact that the score was mostly comprised of remixed and arranged Mario themes, classic stuff that you would recognize from all over the place. That was amazing. Very, very glad that they did that, because I was kind of disappointed by how uncommon that would happen in the Sonic movies, both of them, and even Detective Pikachu. I wish there was a lot more of the original game music in both of those, and this one definitely blew the others out of the water in terms of that aspect. But that said, then the Kill Bill theme kicks in, and I'm just like, oh no. And the fact that it was so early on, I could already tell, they're going to do this a lot in this movie, aren't they? And they certainly did. I could count 4 different times. They had, Thunderstruck, they had Take on Me, they had, oh my god, what is that? The dun, 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 dun. It's in a lot of TikToks. I think it's like Mr. Blue Sky. I forget. I can't remember. But a lot of that, I'm just like, okay. Because weird contrast. Wreck-It Ralph, the other funny CG animated video game ish movie. I've heard a lot of criticisms about the Rihanna "Shut Up and Drive" scene when they're building the car and everything, or testing the car, that is. And I can understand that, because it's that's always kind of the aggravating kind of in my mind, kind of an immature quality about animated movies, when they're just here's just a song like that just inserted because it's a cool pop culture song of some kind. And I guess I should be thankful, Fox, that it's mostly classical stuff. It wasn't anything too obnoxiously modern, at least. But I don't know. I just with Wreck-It Ralph, that scene, I felt like that song served the sequence, because it was almost like a little music video style montage sort of scene. With the licensed music they use in this, it was just all right, whatever. It just kind of was eye roll inducing. So it wasn't that bad, but it was just a little whatever. Meh. But the rest of the scene was great. Of course, already noticing some of the moments where they animated and had different lines that were in the trailer versions of some of these sequences that were clearly different, to either maybe they might have changed it, or maybe to avoid spoiling certain things or whatever. And then, as I expected, we jump right into the Mario Brothers plumbing commercial, and it's funny. I remember when we were learning a little bit more about the movie at all from press interviews and just more stuff being announced on the Nintendo Directs and various things. There were talks from some of the producers from Illumination about, oh no, we're going to acknowledge the original Mario voice in a way that'll really make sense. Don't you worry. And I think there were some people that even I don't know if they predicted it right down to the commercial being included, but the whole he'll put on the voice as a joke for a second and then get away from it. And boy, howdy, people were right. The fact that they're doing the classic Mario and Luigi voice in the commercial, and I'm just like, okay. And that's one of those valid criticisms where it almost just felt like, get it? That's what he usually sounds like. But it's just like, okay, yeah, and I guess if you know Mario, then you know that. But it's just sort of like, it felt a little fourth wall break, even though it wasn't technically four wall breaky. It felt like that in a way that was kind of like, haha, okay, and now here's how they're gonna sound for the rest of the movie. Actually, though, Lamau, I was like, all right, and then of course the first Charles Martinet appearance, and I think it's hysterical that I think he was well utilized. Obviously, knowing that and I've said many times, I've shouted from many rooftops, really wish he could have been Mario, at least just Mario. Would have been great to see that, but knowing that they weren't going to go that route, I do think that he was well utilized. I did like the characters that they gave him. The first of which being, it was hilarious to me that many people had different theories on what characters he would be appearing as or what he would be doing or otherwise. And two of the biggest theories that I remember reading was, oh, he'll play Jumpman. And I'm like, Jumpman isn't a separate character. Like, that just is Mario. They literally have a character playing the Jumpman arcade game in the pizzeria who just looks like the really classical, like, first artwork version of Mario, and it's Charles. And he's doing the Italian accent, and he just sounds like the classic version of him. And the other theory I remember hearing was, oh, maybe he'll play the Mario Brothers' dad. And I'm like, are they really going to introduce, like, their parents as new characters? Like, would they do that? And yes, they did. To my shock and awe, they made entire family members of the Mario Bros. I guess they didn't straight up acknowledge if that's their family name, if they're the Mario family. But yeah, Charles Martinet played their dad, and they threw him a lot of the classic catchphrases and stuff, which that was great. I was very happy. I smiled ear to ear. I'm very glad that he got to do the stuff that he got to do. I know a lot of the other kind of prevailing theory was he'll be like Goomba number one or something unceremonious and lame like that. Thankfully, that was not the case. So that was happy. I was happy to see that. The Spike was Spike was, I guess, in the movie about as much as I expected him to be. He was. Other than that, I don't really have any other expectations of him at all. He was a fun little inclusion. I don't know if I feel like he might have been the type of character that maybe conceptually they had bigger things planned for him, or a bigger role, or a different role with, and maybe it got whittled down to being what it was. But he was fine. It was just a little cute, sort of like made sense for just the kind of early step of what they're doing with themselves and everything. This opening sequence in Brooklyn, these little pieces that were sort of reminiscent, very much so, that the really the only part of the movie that is reminiscent of the original live action Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo Mario movie, also was kind of fun. It was like there were parts that felt kind of like, oh, this seems almost like it could be a reference to that, but it's really more so just the reference to the early days material of them being from the human world, which, I'll even admit, the fact that they used that as a concept at all, I was also pretty surprised. I figured that what they had kind of led to now was that just, no, that's not a thing. It's just like the mushroom, Super Mario world. And, that whole thing of like, they're from the quote unquote real world. They're from Brooklyn. They're from the planet Earth or whatever. Like, no, that's a different thing. Like that was the old days where, we licensed things a lot more, and there were different mentalities about how we produce different Mario things. But no, the fact that they drew that stuff in, they didn't, it's not like the Donkey Kong Kingdom or whatever, which, by the way, nice little cameo by Pauline. I got, I did not, I wouldn't normally do this, but I did catch some footage of the credits because I wanted to see if they listed any other particular like named Mario characters credited by actor looking at the credits that I was able to capture on my phone real quick was we had Charles Martinet was both Mario's dad, and the Jumpman character was called Giuseppe, which I read that on IMDb, and I thought that was like somebody went and edited because I'm like, is that a reference to like regular Giuseppe from that one Dorkly short? And I'm like, no, that can't be right. I think that was probably, hopefully, a coincidence. But yeah, and then we had Reno Romano, who was the voice of the Batman, as Uncle Tony, who is one of the family members. John DiMaggio as Uncle Arthur, who's another one as well. And then Jessica Chichico, who was Plain Princess from Adventure Time, was Mario's mom. And Eric Bauza, who I know was a whole bunch of the Koopa Troopas, was the Toad General with the great booming voice with the blue spots in the glasses and everything. And I had actually thought for a moment that the Koopa General, who was the blue-shelled character, I actually that was my theory on where they were going to place Charles Martinet, was as that character, because they kept kind of putting him on some of the posters and they seemed to feature footage of him a lot. But that was Scott Menville, who is Robin from Teen Titans. And they list a bunch of the additional voices, of which there's quite a few recognizable people. There's guys like Phil Lamar, Carlos Rocky, Ashley Birch, who, of course, is fantastic, worked with her a lot. A few different people. Chris Summer was in there. But they didn't seem to list, who Pauline was and who, again, spoiler alert, Diddy Kong was, which that was a big shock. That was really cool to see that. I was not expecting. I was kind of thinking they were going to wait until the Donkey Kong movie, which I imagine will probably be next. I know they've talked about that a little bit. But anyway, back on track. So yeah, the Brooklyn scene, very cool. Nice, little good introductory thing with them, and even the kind of the fact that when I was a kid, I always imagined about how can they make platformer games work in a film kind of setting, and I realized that, no, they actually do work pretty fine as action sequences. It's just like, jumping over obstacles and dodging enemies and whatever. And even just that opening bit of them being platform heroes, just to get to this job as quickly as they possibly can was kind of cool. And then the kind of fun slapsticky sort of sequence with the rich couple and their dog and, fixing their pipes and everything. Yeah, good to see. I know there's always kind of this running joke of like, why don't we ever really see the Mario Brothers actually plumbing? So the fact that they still, show them doing that as their career in the first place was, before they just become heroes. Although I imagine that, since they're moving to the Mushroom Kingdom, they, become the local plumbers for them. I suppose there's a demand for that for Toads and Peach and otherwise. But, yeah, and then one thing this would have been kind of a cute touch is if they maybe had some of the Koopa Troopas somehow appear in that little, pipe maze Mario Bros. Arcade sort of area. Maybe just as like a little bit of a reference to like when they had some of those enemies in that area. When they were called, I guess, shell creepers, I think. That would have been kind of fun to see that sort of tie in there, and maybe could have even justified Luigi getting pulled into the pipe to the the little warp zones that they had and everything. But of course, we set on our adventure. Toad, just immediately friends with Mario. That might have been one section where it's like, maybe could have spent a little bit more time on that. Could have, given it a little bit of breathing room, because even just Toad being like, come on, Mario, our big adventure starts now. And I'm like, that feels like a trailer line that just feels a little forced in this situation. I will say, and this is one of the nitpicky type of things, some of the dialogue I wasn't super crazy about. There were moments that I felt could have been executed a little bit funnier or a little more clever. That's kind of a general criticism that I tend to have a lot of children's animated films. I've just sort of become numb to it, but while I'm at least barfing my thoughts about various things, the whole sequence of Mario entering the Mushroom Kingdom and going through the whole little, the pipes and the platforms and everything, delightful. I remember seeing that in one of the previewed scenes and just hearing the music. That was the first kind of tease that we got of Brian Tyler's score. That also made me very, very happy to see. And to hear, of course, and on Luigi and the the Luigi in the Dark Kingdom and everything with his weird semi-sexual tension part with Bowser was pretty amusing as well. You know what? Another like probably second place criticism to the movie, other than just the I wish it was longer, and I guess this kind of is a spin-off of that. Wish there was more Bowser. Every second Bowser had on screen was perfect. He was just so well done. He is one of the, like without question, one of the most well done things about the entire film. Jack Black's performance is immaculate. The animation on him is incredible, like so expressive, so much fun. His little musical numbers early on, and also kind of the I guess mid-credit scene, super fun. And his whole because they didn't really tease anything about his obsession with Peach in any of the preview material, and I was almost kind of expecting that would have been lost. I didn't know if they were gonna stick with that in the same way that they didn't stick with Peach's personality, which I'll get to Peach in a second. But no, his kind of like flustery, like, was she attracted to him? I'm already jealous of this guy that I don't even know about. The way that they set up, like, he's never even seen Mario yet. He's just this like faceless entity, and all he knows is he's somebody that's threatening his crush that he is totally dead set on. I really liked how they utilized, like, that was clever in how they don't already form a direct relationship between the two characters. That was well done in, okay, how do we make Mario an enemy for an antagonistic force from Bowser's perspective without him actually meeting him yet. That was great, absolutely. Maybe would have liked to also, again, this could have been if there was more time, but seeing some sort of scout. I have to imagine that was probably something on the cutting room floor of, like, some type of Bowser minion. Hell, you know what? Maybe it was even some of the little enemies that, the non-threatening enemies that Mario saw in that opening scene where he's with Toad or something. That could be the case. Or no, though I guess it would have had to be later because it's, by the time that we know that Peach is training him. I did like the cute little moment of Peach and Mario seeing each other for the first time, and the little mild, cute tension between them. It wasn't too overboard. It was balanced nicely, and I was like, okay, that's fine, because they never go too far with it in the games either. If anything, I was surprised that he didn't get a little kiss at the end. That would have been kind of cute too. Maybe they had done that. But that's also that's not like a strike against it, because I think that what they did with Mario and Peach's dynamic was cute enough. It was fine. Peach, as far as the lead characters, I hate to say this, was kind of the least compelling to me. Chris Pratt's performance as Mario, ultimately, it was fine. As I was hoping for, there was just enough of a touch of the Brooklyn accent, and same thing with Charlie Day. Charlie Day was fantastic. The way they were executed was fine. If those of you who hadn't seen my TikTok arguing, they're like, you could have given the Italian accent. It didn't have to be a novelty because Gru has been a successful character for, multiple movies with his weird ass, whatever Eastern European accent that's supposed to be that Steve Carell does. My argument still stands on that, but it's fine. It was fine. Sure. Whatever. Honestly, and Anya Taylor-Joy is a brilliant actress. If you've never seen her in One Night in Soho, please watch that movie. It is incredible. She's outstanding. And it's not that she did a bad job. This, in my same kind of criticism of the creators of the movie choosing to have Mario not have the Italian accent, the choice of having Peach just be like, I'm the tough female lead character, I am an independent woman. I'm just like, okay. It's because, and I'll even say this, and I'm sure a lot of people have maybe had this experience. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case. A lot of women that I've talked to that were excited about this movie were also kind of let down by, like, really? Is that the way that we need to execute her? Like, we're not going to throw up in arms, get up in arms over if you make her, like hyper feminine. Oh my goodness, Mario, and not even in the same vein of like doing the original, kind of voice that she's had in the game, but just, making her kind of, cutesy, girly kind of personality. Like, she can still kick ass and be cool, because doing that, I don't mind at all. I think it's great that, because it goes back to, she was playable as early as Mario 2. and she was incredibly useful and could fly and could kick just as much ass as Mario, Luigi, and Toad in that game. So there's nothing wrong with, instead of having, the fact that they made Luigi the quote unquote damsel in distress and Peach is a more active rose, an active role. I don't mind that at all. That's great. It's more so just the execution of her personality. Hell, I wouldn't even mind it if they made her like British, if they just had Anya Taylor-Joy's natural accent, just because it would have been kind of interesting, to set her apart a little bit with some kind of quality. Although I say that, I'm sure that when they eventually get to the Zelda movie, they'll probably make Zelda British, if I had to guess. The other thing, this is kind of a side note as well, on top of the Zelda thing, but I'm sure that when they have like Daisy in like, when they do a sequel Mario movie, probably sometime down the line, I bet that she'll be filled with tons of personality because she's like the alternative to Peach. But I don't know. That's just, I think they could have executed Peach a little bit more uniquely, because to me, she just felt like a very tropey, kind of uninteresting, like action girl character that was not all that interesting to me. So when it came to like the leading characters of like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Bowser, and Donkey Kong, I would say were probably the most at the forefront characters. Peach was just kind of the least compelling, and that was kind of a bummer since she was one of the only female characters in the whole movie. So. But I'm sure they'll have Daisy and Rosalina probably. In fact, I'll even say this while I'm thinking about Rosalina. Very much expecting Rosalina to be the post-credit scene. My first theory was I thought it was going to be Wario and Waluigi. And then when the Luma character, Luma Lee, who, by the way, got a lot of laughs from the audience, the sweet embrace of death, a little cutesy, wootsy, realistic kid voice and everything. Because of that character, and I remember there was a leak about they were one of the McDonald's toys tie-in characters or something. I think that that made me think that Rosalina was going to be the post-credit scene. Speaking of also, well, I'll get to what that entails a little bit later, but so yeah, the training scene with the platforming level and everything, and oh dear God, I love the song "I Need a Hero." I genuinely love that song so much. I'm so tired of hearing it in movies. I'm so tired in movie trailers, in movies themselves. It's like, please no more. Like I'm over exposed to it at this point. You know what I mean? But the actual training sequence of Mario, figuring out things with the platformer level, that was a lot of fun. I think that was a good. But once again, even then, that's another part. Like his immediately getting to know Peach would have been kind of cool if they had a little more time with that. Like those are moments like that. Like the characters first getting to meet each other were often some of the things where I'm like, this could have used just a little bit more of a slower pace, just to like, have them get to know each other a touch more than what we get the glimpses of and everything. But yeah, the decision then when we have them heading to the Jungle Kingdom. We have a brief little traveling montage of, I guess we go through the Desert Kingdom, perhaps Yoshi's Island. I was so insistent, I remember to some of the folks I talked to about this, I was so insistent, I'm like, Yoshi's not going to be in this movie. There's no way. Because the fact that they didn't announce Yoshi as a central character with a celebrity voicing him, why would they blow him now? Why would they blow, Yoshi on this first movie? Like, that's totally a sequel type of thing, right? And then when one of the early trailers came out and they showed just, the stampede of Yoshis running around, and I thought, oh, okay, I guess they're in the movie, sure. And, that's it. That one little shot of them running by on what seems to be the Yoshi Island or Kingdom or whatever, and the post-credit scene. That was it. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I guess that's fine. Yeah, I guess I'm indifferent to it. It's whatever. But yeah, so the little traveling montage, maybe again could have been a little bit longer. Would have liked to see maybe some more interesting sights. It's funny, you could even tell that like the little gag of Mario getting like hit in the face by one of the cheap fishes on the little bridge area. The fact that they like don't show all the footage of that, and that was like more in the trailer. It's like, oh, they like seem to shorten this. I almost kind of hope that maybe we'll get like a director's cut version of it or something. I would certainly be interested to pick up the Blu-ray of this because I'd love to see what the special features are. That'd be kind of fun to check out if we'll get anything interesting. I haven't bought a DVD or Blu-ray or home release of anything in quite a long time, so I don't even know what special features are like anymore for that sort of thing. But yeah, so the decision to make the Donkey Kong island, the Kong Isle, I suppose, cart based was interesting. I suppose that could be tied in a little bit to the Diddy Kong racing aspect, perhaps to some sort of, but it seemed to be more so the elements of Mario Kart, based on the building system, the way that the carts transform and everything. Like it was very much like it was the Mario Kart aesthetic and not Diddy Kong Racing specifically. Although of course Diddy Kong Racing did invent the wheel on the different vehicles for racing stuff, for that sort of thing with the planes and hovercrafts and all that sort of stuff. And I was convinced. I know that when the poster for Donkey Kong came out, and a lot of people saw some of the different Kongs, and I thought, oh, that's this one, and then I'm like, maybe, but maybe not. Like Cranky Kong is obviously, they've announced him as a definitive character. I was disappointed about Cranky Kong, to be honest. I love his inclusion. I love what they did with him, but he wasn't entertaining to me. And that was a huge bummer because I love Fred Armisen. Fred Armisen is super funny and very talented voice actor. I loved him in the stuff that I've heard him in. Wasn't well executed. I almost felt like his like old man Cranky Kong voice felt like not that much differentiated from some of the younger characters, like, because I even was a little worried at some point about how Chris Pratt and Seth Rogen as Mario and Donkey Kong were going to sound maybe a little too similar to each other. And that fear was actually kind of alleviated, which I'll get to their dynamic because, God, that was a treat. But yeah, I don't know, Cranky Kong's voice and even like his kind of some of his like line deliveries and some of his dialogue, like he was kind of one of the glaring weaknesses of some of the quality of the movie, which was, that was a big bummer because I love the Kong characters. The Donkey Kong versus Mario fight scene was an absolute treat. I was not sure how to feel at first about them throwing the cat bell in there, but it was pretty funny. Loved the quick, super cat-like reflex animations that they did with it. That was a lot of fun. Did not expect the mini mushroom at all. That was great, and great callback with how they used it later in the movie as well. That was very, very cute and very clever. There was another moment that really made me laugh earlier that I'm forgetting, but the second moment that made me burst out laughing was the surprise, not only Diddy Kong, but Dixie and Chunky Kong, I think, cameos. I was really, really surprised that they did that because, again, knowing that based on what they were teasing before, that the Donkey Kong movie, I guess, is going to be the next one that they do, I was really figuring that they were going to save that for the next one. I don't know who voiced Diddy Kong. I'm assuming that it was somebody within the list of additional voice actors and stuff. I'd have to listen back. Maybe I could piece together who it was. Shout outs to the people that just went ahead and said that Jeannie Elias, who is Princess Peach in the or Princess Toadstool as they called her in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, was the voice of the woman from the commercial. She wasn't. Someone just said that without a source at all. And then some other clip, somebody said that the guy that was like, "I love you, DK," the one Kong in the audience, like, "Oh, that's Richard Yearwood who played Donkey Kong in the CG animated series." I'm like, no, it isn't. I really wish that you guys would stop doing that, and then people who don't have a brain will listen to it and just believe it as fact. Good job. So stop doing that, for the love of Christ. Nonetheless, I don't know who played Diddy. I'm assuming that when they do the Donkey Kong movie, it will probably not be whoever it was. It'll probably be a celebrity, if I had to guess. Yeah, that was super cute. I love Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong and Chunky Kong. So that was cool to see that they were thrown in there. Like, absolutely. And yeah, that whole fight scene was a ton of fun. The Rainbow Road stuff was a great sequence, and thankfully, not the finale, because I one thing I was a little worried about when I was like seeing too much footage of the film was I was a little worried that that was the finale kind of sequence, and I was like, oh, I hope that that's not like kind of a spoiler for just like the sort of final battle in the form of a Mario Kart sequence. But no, it was more of the midpoint of the movie, which was well utilized in addition. So I like that a lot. Lots of cute references in there. The Koopa General Blue Shell guy did almost what I thought, because it was not the finale. Thankfully, he was not like the not MacGuffin, but the key to winning the final battle sort of scenario. I was kind of expecting like Mario's gonna plop him into a shell, use him, beat Bowser, finish the race or whatever. Somehow that's like some kind of competition or something. But no, so he was utilized in the way I was kind of hoping, and not in the way that I was expecting. Because it wasn't, the scene wasn't placed where I thought it was going to be. So that was a nice kind of sigh of relief that I had, and the ever growing floating dungeon in the Darkland and everything. So Mario and Donkey Kong's dynamic was also a big highlight. I was immediately I could tell what they were doing with the like I hate you. I was like, hey, you big monkey, like them just constantly having this kind of tussle in their personality, which I kind of expected that to continue, like in maybe a little bit more of a friendly way. But yeah, they're just like being assholes to each other. I loved every second of that. Kind of little funny thing that I was proud of myself for was when they fell into the ocean, they were sinking down, and Mario saves his life for a brief moment. And as soon as they were sinking, I'm just like, "Where's the giant eel? Where's the giant eel? There it is." It's right on cue. And it's funny because this is also a side note, but I just watched. I've been watching a lot of the older One Piece episodes with a few of my friends lately, that some of which haven't seen the show before. And we were watching the Skypiea episodes, and there was a long stretch of episodes where they were just like, "Is Luffy still stuck in the belly of a giant snake?" And I almost had some flashbacks to that, but knowing that like this won't last for longer than a couple minutes, and thank God it didn't, because that would have been annoying. And then of course we get the funny little rocket barrel reference to Donkey Kong Returns, which that was cute. So the royal wedding scene was kind of funny. That gave me some feelings reminiscent of the Super Mario Adventures manga series, which is a total joy as well. Some of the moments in that was another case where I felt some of the scripting and dialogue was executed a little awkwardly, could have been done a little bit more cleverly compared to some other stuff that was better executed in the rest of the movie. But it was still a fun scene. I loved the slew of other enemy cameos in the audience in there. Although, weirdly enough, I recall King Babam looking great, and I was like, oh, that's a fun little sort of usage of him. King Boo was possibly the like dumpiest, weird, uncanniest looking model in the whole movie. I don't know why. Like, I know that this is like nitpicky within nitpicky. Just he showed up kind of floating in, and I'm just like, oh, he looks like so distractingly like worse than every other, because all the models and designs of this movie were so good. But like King Boo walks in and or floats in, and I'm like, why do you look weird? I don't know. It was strange, but yeah. And then the fun kind of quick platforming sequence with Mario and Donkey Kong, lots of fun as well. Another great case of like making a fun action sequence out of a video game level. Super cool. Ice Peach was great. I'm pretty sure we've had Ice Peach in maybe 3D World. I can't recall. But of course, Fire Donkey Kong being a new thing, that was super super cool. It's funny. I don't even think that did we even get Fire Mario? Because we had Tanuki Suit, we had Mini Mario, we had Cat Mario, we had Super Big Mushroom Mario. Which was actually kind of surprised that they even did that. I know that like in more modern Mario games, they tend to have it be like he's already super, and then if he gets hit once, he becomes like Tiny Mario without his hat. But yeah, it was kind of that was kind of a fun surprise to see them use the super mushroom in the very classic original style of how it usually goes. That was kind of cool. But I don't even think that he got the fire flower. I think Peach and DK did, and if he did, I guess I've already forgotten. But maybe I'll be reminded when I see it the second time. But yeah, that sequence was fun. I realize now it's like, oh yeah, that like, oh nice raccoon suit, really? No, not at all. I'm like, oh, that checks out with the rest of their interactions and everything. Um, the bonsai bill usage was unexpected. I liked how much personality they got out of a completely like stone cold like unmoving model of the bonsai bill other than just the usage of its eyes and the actual movement of just the big hulking model of it. That was fun. I was not expecting the crazy warp zone gone haywire thing and sending them back into the what's it called and back into Brooklyn. That was kind of a fun little thing. And the fight scene, very well choreographed, super cool. Mostly cute little moments to cater to Charles Martinet as both Mario's dad and this Giuseppe character. Just saying other cute Mario things in the voice and everything was fun. And yeah, the fight itself was very cool. You know what, the only little thing that I would have liked, and I was kind of hoping for it, and maybe they'll do it in the next one, is I was kind of hoping that there would be the grabbing Bowser by the tail and swinging him around thing, just because, like, man, even the anime Mario Brothers movie did that before Mario 64 did it, because there were a couple Mario 64 things, kind of spread around here and there. But yeah, so that would have been kind of a cute touch. But again, super nitpicky. The actual fight itself was super cool. And, there they are at the end. I guess only other kind of, and this is just my Mr. Artsy Fartsy, I like to have some kind of takeaway thing from movies, is other than just like, oh, making my dad proud of me somehow thing, which he did, and that was good. That was, still fulfilling and nice. I guess I maybe wish that they had a little bit more emphasis on, like, what was the point of Mario and Luigi's development. I liked them, doing something cool to make their parents proud of them. The brotherly love, as long as we stick together, we'll always be okay kind of thing was very cute. But I don't know. I guess maybe some kind of like through line theme of like, what were the brothers trying to accomplish other like for themselves, I guess, more so than just trying to make their family proud. Just maybe a little bit of more of a clear cut kind of development of what was going on with them. That would have been kind of a nice little bit of a through line. But I know that also unfortunately can be rare for younger aimed animated films. So, nah, that's fine. It's whatever. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it was a lot of fun. It was a great ride. It was super entertaining. It very much felt like it was made with a lot of love. And I think so you know what? I can't complain. I know that I say that I can't complain. I know I have some things to complain about, of course, but truly, like overall, it was a fun time. I'm glad that it was made. I'm glad that it was executed in the way that it was, and I look forward to more. I like I said, I really only wish that we would have had more time to see this movie version of the world of the whole what's I imagine is eventually going to be the rest of the Nintendo universe, because I'm sure, let's be honest, they're going to build a whole Nintendo cinematic universe. We're going to get the other franchises at some point. We'll do sequels to them. We'll have more stuff. Will eventually lead up to some kind of Super Smash Brothers big crossover thing. I have no doubt of that at all. But you know what? Because to bring it all back to something about the kind of childlike wonder of this stuff. And this isn't even so much about like morals, or this is just like the pure kind of fun things about building cinematic universes. Is I love lore. I've always been interested in seeing lore stuff about the world of Nintendo characters. And depending on the franchise, sometimes we get little glimpses of that. Sometimes we don't. There are certain ones that are better about it than others. You know what I mean? And there was one I skipped over it. There was one moment that made me really hopeful for what we could get about these movies more in the future. Was, and hell, you know what? I could even see Matt doing a game theory about this at some point. There was a little tease about, where does Princess Peach come from? Why is she the one human that lives in the mushroom world? And Mario points out, as I was hoping, oh, maybe you're from my world, because she points out before that, oh my god, you're a human. So, and that little quick scene, that the very very cute scene, and same thing with the cute scene with the baby Mario brothers, and the fact that they looked like their baby selves like usual, like the same kind of design, was awesome. But yeah, the little scene with baby Peach coming through the pipe. Um, I would love to find out if there's more to that. I don't know if we will necessarily. It could just be, left up to interpretation or be a little bit of a mystery. But I hope that we get to learn more about that, because like that's something that I've always wondered about, and the games have never explored those kind of things. The one and only fanfic that I ever read, which was this thing called the Super Mario Saga, written by one of the staff members of Mario 128 Central, which was an old site that was famous for the Luigi in Mario 64 April Fool's joke. It's also the site that is the basis for Chief Petopio slash Bitrum and Tome. Little can't not mention Tome at some point in a Kirblog, because of course. That site had a fanfic called the Super Mario Saga that got me thinking about those types of things, of like, where do some of these things originate from, and why and how, and like I'd love to know some of those things. It would be neat to see some of that stuff explored in the future. And from what some of the actors in the Mario Brothers movie have been teasing in some of the press interviews they've been doing, it sounds like that is possibly what we're going to be getting with the future of these movies. So yeah, I look forward to more. This made me very excited to see more stuff, and I'm excited about it. I'm genuinely excited because of how well this was done. It was, so for all, and you know what? It comes back to, again, some of my nitpicky things, I think, are also those criticisms about, like, this is what I would have done differently. This is how I would have executed this if this was left up to me or whatever. But overall, the people that made this, I can tell, very much did their research. I can't, imagine that there were not tons of people that grew up with Mario and know the series very intimately that were on the staff. I would bet good money on that. And even I'm sure for the people that didn't, like, they did their research very well, and it felt very authentic and very made with love. And I, as a hardcore longtime Mario fan, I really really appreciate that. So I don't know, maybe if we're lucky, or if I get what I dream of and what I hope for, maybe the Blu-ray release will have like an extended edition or some more deleted scenes or some other insight and some things. And I hope that perhaps the wait won't have to be too long for whatever may come next for this. I certainly, it takes longer to produce an animated movie than it does a live action. So, it's not going to be nearly as frequent as as often as we get Marvel movies for the cinematic universe of that, of course. But it's an exciting thing that I'm going to get to live through, is seeing the future of a movie franchise that I've really want. You know what? That's one other thing, is I think as a kid, I had always dreamed of something a step beyond the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and a lot of the Mario animated stuff. Like the anime movie is a fun time, and the Super Show and some of that stuff, like, they're okay. The Mario World cartoon, I have a little bit of a soft spot for. The Mario Brothers movie was not really what I would have wanted. It's fine. It's very silly and stupid, but it's a thing. It exists. Whatever. It's funny bad depending on the right crowd that you might be with if you're watching it. But this is the type of Mario movie that I think that I really in the way that I fantasized about a beautiful 3D fully realized version of the original Pokemon games, and then years later I get Detective Pikachu, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I think that this Mario movie, in a lot of ways, fulfilled that vision of what I had dreamed of as a kid, and probably a lot of people my age, and maybe even a lot younger than me. The generation before me and the generation before that would have really wanted to see something like this, and I'm glad that we have it. So yeah, the next one, Donkey Kong. That could be a whole nother topic, but I'm curious to see how they'll do that. I'm sure there will be Kremlings involved and other Kongs and so etc. There's plenty of things to derive at least a single Donkey Kong movie from. And Zelda, I'm sure, will probably be after that, because I don't see them, doing any other Nintendo franchise before a Zelda movie. And perhaps another Mario sequel. There's plenty of stuff that they haven't covered, and of course, with Yoshi as probably some kind of key player in that. And then who knows? Metroid, Star Fox, Kirby, and who knows? The sky's the limit. But here we are in the age of the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. So it's a good time, did not disappoint, and I look forward to watching it again later tonight after this Kirblog comes out. So that'll do it. Well, I still have you all for a little bit before I wrap this up. For those of you who don't already know, I just launched a Patreon at the beginning of this month. So if you would like to help support me in my future artistic endeavors, and relevantly to, here's my first new Kirblog in a while, because I've been trying to get off my ass and do more of them. I used to do them, once a week and then once a month, and I really slowed down after a while, but I wanted to have them as an incentive for people to donate to help support me. So for a minimum $3 a month Patreon tier, you can recommend a future Kirblog topic. So if you want me to review something or talk about a particular subject, maybe try to bring on a certain guest or something, if you pledge $3 or more, on the 15th of every month, I will choose a suggestion from someone randomly and make a Kirblog topic out of it. But this was one that I wanted to do on my own. I was planning to do it like immediately after seeing the movie anyway, and who'd have thought I get to do it on release day, because I went to a midnight showing as I was hoping. So I'm going to go see it again tonight with some other friends, and should be a lot of fun. So I suppose leave your thoughts and comments about the Super Mario Brothers movie in the chat below, in the comments below, excuse me, or I guess perhaps you'll be talking about it in the chat while this is premiering on YouTube, because I've been kind of doing that lately just for some more interaction and stuff. But yeah, and perhaps your future hopes for other Nintendo Cinematic Universe movies, because God knows we'll be, living in that timeline of getting more of that. I certainly hope we will. So yeah, and if you have future Kirblog topics or suggestions of any kind, please subscribe to my Patreon and support my future artistic and animation works, and more cool content for my YouTube channel, because I would love to bring you guys more stuff. Look forward to me streaming the Mega Man Battle Network Collection games, I guess as soon as next week when it releases on April 13th, I think it is. So until then, thank you very much for listening, everybody.